Link, how am I supposed to do this? I'm gonna get grilled by the internet. I'm scared for the both of us, man. The both of us. I'm really sorry. The Legend of Zelda timeline. No one understands it, but I'm gonna try to explain it, because I've hyperfixated on this game since I was like 9. And I am much older than 9, despite what Twitter may think. I am much older than 9. As a disclaimer, I do not claim this to be the official timeline, or that I am an expert of Zelda. I've actually haven't played like a lot of these games, and I'm really sad about it because I really want to. I just have watched and consumed an unreasonable amount of Zelda content over the years, and I feel like in my head I have a pretty like comprehensible timeline of what happens. So I'm gonna explain my timeline to you, and you can yell at me. Actually, no, you can't, because I'm great. And I'm never wrong. So I have it all pulled up on a Google Doc sheet that you can't see so that I can cheat. This is the most confusing timeline ever. Oh my god. I have not included any of the non-canonical games except for one, but we'll get to that. But like something like, you know, like Link's crossbow training, that's not in here. The Game & Watch, that's not in here. That was a lot of effort, and I was not. No, it's not happening. I'm not doing that. I'm not putting myself through that pain. That would be like torture. That would be the worst thing that I could ever do to myself, and I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it to myself. So it's not happening. First up of the timeline is the era of like the Godess Hylia. I've also heard it be referred to as the Sky Era, which the original one, the era of the Godess Hylia, way cooler. The Sky Era just sounds lame and boring. So like, most people who are like kind of familiar with Zelda know that like Skyward Sword was the first game in the timeline, because that's where we see like, I'm gonna assume it's Earth. I don't really know if it's Earth. I honestly have never paid attention that well. Being created, and Zelda is like a literal goddess, and Link is the hero of the skies in that game, and they definitely fall in love. I know it's kind of like implied romance, but they know it's canon. I've decided I'm the god here. It's canon. Then there's the era of chaos, and there's like a war with interlopers, but we'll get back to that. Partially because I don't really know how to explain it right now, but just so you know, it happens right here. Yes. And then once that happens, the Sacred Realm gets sealed, and that's all you really need to know right now, because we'll get back to the Interloper War. After that happens, it's the era of prosperity, and the Kingdom of Hyrule is like established, and it's a go, and yo, I forgot what the first kingdom name is in Skyward Sword, which is a little pathetic because I've played that game, I think 5 times now. So the fact that I cannot think of it is sad. The Force era happens right now, which is like the weirdest thing ever. It's actually not, it's just a weird name. Like I know it's like referring to like the Triforce, but in my head I'm thinking like Star Wars. I've only ever seen one Star Wars movie, that's a lie, I've seen like 2. But, yeah, you know what I'm saying, yeah. Anyways, so the next game in the timeline during the Force era is The Legend of Zelda the Minish Cap. I'm gonna just stop saying The Legend of Zelda from here on out, because we know what this video is about, and that just is a lot to say on one handful. Anyways, so the next game in the timeline is the Minish Cap. So basically, the evil Minish Vaati? Vaati? Is that how you, Vaati? V-A-A-T-I. I'm gonna call her Vaati. Vaati. I'm gonna call her Vaati. That sounds good. So basically, the evil Minish Vaati takes over Hyrule and is like, yoink, mine now, and Link and his little buddy Elzo, yeah, that's his name. I don't write the Zelda lore, okay? I just am reporting it. Anyways, they have to go and collect like the 4 elements. They have to repair the Procoria blade into the 4 swords. After Link battles Vaati, Vaati gets sealed into the blade. And that's where the sword and the stone images come from in Breath of the Wild. No, not in Breath of the Wild. I don't know why I said that. In Zelda. That's where the sword and the stone images come in Zelda. Yes. And then we have Legend of Zelda 4 Swords. I actually really like this game. This is a game that Link gets fashion, I think. Hold on. Yeah, he gets fashionable. You can't see that. he gets fashionable. So Vadi, the Wind Mage from the last game, right, breaks out of Seal because of course he does, and he terrorizes Hyrule because of course he does, kidnaps Princess Zelda because, say it with me, of course he does, and a new hero, also named Link because they all are, pulls the Force Sword and splits his body into how many people? It's in the title. 4. Oh. Basically, then the 4 heroes defeat and reseal Vadi, and the blade is all good, and yeah. So that's the end of the Hero of Time. Wait, no, it's the era of the Hero of Time. The Hero of Time isn't even a thing yet. I don't know why I said it as the end. It's the era of the Hero of Time. Yeah, so like the Hylian Civil War happens here. So that's fun. But more importantly, Ocarina of Time happens here, baby! I love this game. This is one of my favorite Zelda games. So the Gerudo King, Ganondorf, we call him Ganon from here on out, a reincarnation of Demise, and Demise is the boss in Skyward Sword. So, I didn't explain that before, but now we know. So basically, when Ganon shows up, he's a reincarnation of Demise, right? And he's all like, where the Triforce? Where do it be? Give it up! And Link, the young hero of time, you know, just like gets out of bed one day and is like, bonk bonk, my master sword now. Which, okay kid, show off much? Joke's on you, kiddo. It actually seals him away and Ganon is left to rule for 7 whole years. So that's really cool. So Link, being an absolute Chad, just, you know, returns because of course he does. He got plot armor, you know? And wakes up the 7 sages, which are kind of like powerful beings. Yeah. And little Link, he's all like, I'm gonna go kill Ganon, and the 7 sages are like, do that. And he goes, right, and he goes in to go kill Ganon, and doesn't win. Like a loser. A loser. And because he doesn't win, the Sacred Realm is transformed into the Dark Realm. The Sacred Realm is transformed into the Dark World, not the Dark Realm, because Nintendo just makes everything hard on us. And because it is the Dark World, it turns Ganon into the Demon King Ganon, because apparently the name Ganondorf wasn't enough for him. But because Link, you know, is a loser, and you know, because there's gotta be some plot here, the other Knights of Hyrule, not Link, seal Ganon away along with the 7 sages into the Dark World. I'm really sorry. I just needed it for dramatic effect. You can go back now. And that, as disappointing as it is, that is the canon ending of Ocarina of Time. How disappointing is that? You're telling me that homeboy Link fails? What? You know, okay. You know, you're thinking, oh, he got plot armor. There's no way the canon ending is him losing. That's exactly what it is. The canon plot, the canon ending of Ocarina of Time is him losing. Could you imagine? Could you imagine your entire bloodline just being defeat Ganondorf and you fail? Like, big L moment, but take it. Take it and leave. I'm really sorry. Don't take any of this personally. So here's where the timeline gets real funky fresh because Nintendo is the worst. Not really, don't yell at me, Nintendo. I buy your merchandise, so I didn't actually buy this. My friend bought this for me, but it's timeline split. We're gonna first talk about the Fallen Hero timeline because it's the canon ending of Ocarina of Time, and it's the easiest transition I have. So first, there's the Imprisoning War, which is a war with prisoners. And I think, in my memory, Hyrule is the one imprisoned, but don't quote me on that, because I actually don't know. But then, there's a Link to the Past, which is a really good game, and I love it. And that starts the era of Dark and Light. So the Fallen Sheikah, Agmahin? Agmin. We're gonna go with Agmin. That's how you spell it. Okay? Yeah, Agmin kidnaps the 7 maidens. Not to confuse with the 7 sages. 2 different things. But, even though they're 2 different things, they're descendants of each other. So, like, that understand? 7 sages, 7 maidens, descendants. Yes! And when he kidnaps them, Agman, I think I decided that his name was pronounced that way, kidnaps them in order to break the seal and free Ganon, because apparently they just want the world to end, you know? Zelda is also captured because, you know, plot, of course she is. She's the princess in the game, so of course she has to get captured, and Link pulls the Master Sword. So, he travels to the Dark World, to where Ganon is, to rescue the lot of them, and defeats not only Ganon, but Agman. So after he defeats those two, Link takes the Triforce and wishes for Hyrule to be restored. And for Ganon's evil to be undone, which is very cool, but we'll come back to this wish later. And that's the era of the Hero of Legend. Or no, that starts it. That starts the era of the Hero of Legend. Yes, because there's different Links. And it makes it there's different Links in Zeldas, and it makes everything so much more complicated. So, welcome to Legend of Zelda Ancient Stone Tablets. Yay! So the Hero of Legend is taken by the Triforce, right? Because of course. And Zelda has reoccurring nightmares. Poor girl can't catch a break. And she has these nightmares while waiting for his return because, you know, of course, plot. But the thing about these nightmares is that they're warning her of Ganon's return, which that's not good. That's a real bad thing. Not Pog, would not recommend, 0 out of 10, you know, that type beat. You know, because she's like, fine, I'm not gonna wait for this hero to come back. I'm gonna take things in my own hands. Her and Kimi, which is a character in Stone Tablets, go and find these ancient stone tablets, hence the name, that reveal Twin Rovas. I don't know how to pronounce that either. We're gonna call them Twin Rovas. Twin Rovas plan. But bingo bongo, plot time, Zelda's captured by her. Sucks to suck, Zelda should have waited for Link. So now we have Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Secrets, and Oracle of Ages. Yes, all 3 of them in one go, because that's a lot of oracles. So when the Hero of Legend returns to the castle, right, there ain't no Zelda, cause she got. He's taken by the Triforce yet again, I think, to Holodrum. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce that. I don't know, there's never any voice acting in these games. Labrina? Labrana? I'm not even gonna try. To save the oracles, Din, Naru, and Fayor. I'm gonna assume Fayor. That looks right on the script. Oh, and he also saves Zelda and Kokomi, which I'm assuming is another oracle. I actually haven't played any of these games. I just know a lot about them because I read the wiki for fun. He also, while like saving all of those guys, he figures out Kotaki's, I'm gonna assume. We all know I suck at pronunciation at this point. He figures out Kotaki's evil plan to resurrect Ganon, so that's cool. Next is Cadence of Hyrule, which I didn't know was canon, but apparently it is, but I have played it because I was like, this is a Zelda game? Apparently it is. So, Octavo, which, you know, cool name, dude, steals the King of Hyrule's golden lute. How dare you, Octavo? You had a rad name. The thing about this lute is that it holds the power of the Triforce gods. So, that's neat. So with the kingdom in danger, you know, because there's kind of a magical instrument with the power of literal gods being, you know, yoinked. The Triforce, somehow, summons Cadence to Hyrule. And Cadence, you know, being a G, teams up with Link and Zelda to defeat Octavo. And next up is Link's Awakening! So after battling all the evil in Hyrule, right, Link is starting his sailor arc, so he goes on a ship, but bingo bongo, right? Like, nothing ever goes right for this poor boy, and all of a sudden, there's a storm. No more ship! He is shipwrecked on a mysterious island, and you know what finds him? Evil. More evil things. Like, give that boy a rest. Oh my god. He is literally trying to vibe. Homeboy is literally vibing. So it's a battle through the island, right, of Kohonut? Kohonut, I think. And he meets Marin. We love Marin. Marin? I'm gonna call her Marin. Marin sounds better. And it's an island girl, you know, she living her life, and all she wants to do is see the world, which, you know, me too, homie. Nothing ever goes right in Link's life. So as she's telling him this, this is literally right before the fish, the windfish, a giant fish tells him, Yoko Yoko, all the dream, sorry, Marnin ain't real, like. And then we have Legend of Zelda Wand of Gamelon, which I've never played. And I think that is probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. So, but basically I think Hyrule just learns of the Duke Onkled? Onkled? That's your name? I'm so sorry. They learn that the Duke Uncle's under attack, right? Because of course he is. And he's like, yo, Zelda, send Link if the king don't return in 1 month. And Zelda's like, okay. And of course, he doesn't return. So Zelda's like, yo, Link, go find my dad. But as as Link's doing his little thing, and he's like, okay, princess, got you. I'm gonna go save your dad because I'm Link, and I only failed that one time canonically. And it wasn't even me, it was a previous reincarnation. Zelda's like, I'm bored. And she goes with Impa and saves her father herself because she's impatient. This is how you get kidnapped, Zelda. This is all your fault. From here on out, all your fault. Then there's the Golden Era, which is pretty swag in my opinion. I like the Golden Era because you know what's in the Golden Era? Oh, Link Between Worlds! Let's go. I love this game. Yuga, which baller name for one, is a sorcerer, which baller secondly. What's not so baller though is that he does capture Zelda and the 7 Sages. So he somehow escapes through a rift in time, because of course he does, and he goes to the ruined world of Laurel. Basically his whole goal is just to steal Hyrule's Triforce, which I get that it's like the power of the gods, but like, don't you guys have your own gods? So the new hero, right, because of course there's a new hero, after being trained by their grandfather, pulls the Master Sword and goes and defeats Yuga and reseals the Triforce. Restores the Triforce, not resealed. It was never unsealed. I actually don't even think it was sealed in the first place. They should seal it. Why isn't it sealed? Anyways, next we got Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, which is another really good one. It's basically just 4 swords rebranded. So after saving Hyrule and Laurel, Link travels to Hytopia, which, that is like the most boring name. You just took Hyrule and Topia and mushed them together. It's like a multi-million-dollar company. And they're like, we'll call it Hytopia. Like, be creative. Anyways, so he's tasked with saving Princess Styla? I'm so good at this game. But basically, Styla had this curse placed on her by a helm. So, joined by 2 other heroes, they defeat Lady Maud and save Princess Styla because plot armor. That's the end of the Fallen Hero timeline. Cool. And then there's the adult timeline. Which, remember when I said that we were gonna look back at that wish from the other game earlier? That's now. We're looking at it. We're looking at it right now. Yes. So the wish in A Link to the Past doesn't actually, even though it's called the adult timeline, it does not send him back to being an adult because he was already an adult. So what would that fix? No, it sends him back to being a child, which makes the other timeline way confusing. Anyway, we'll get to that. So when Ganondorf is sealed by the 7 Sages, the Hero of Time is sent back to his childhood. So that's fun. And then we have Era without a hero because, you know, the hero's a child. And you know what happens? Because nothing in this poor child's life is easy. Hyrule gets flooded. Casually. And that's where you come in. He's not so innocent. Don't you love it when your entire nation just floods? Me too. And that starts the era of the Great Sea. And that is where Wind Waker comes in. So Ganon, being a little pea boy, kills the 7 Sages of the Earth. So that's really rad. And instead of, you know, just being normal and looking for Zelda to kidnap, he just starts like kidnapping random women. He's like, are you her? Are you her? Are you my mother? So a new hero sets out to find his sister, not Zelda, and pulls the Master Sword. Somehow. And somehow, there are new stages, conveniently, so he awakens them when he pulls the Master Sword, so that's really cool plot armor. And also obtains the Triforce of Courage, which was left behind by the Hero of Time. So that's neat. And so him and Tetra, who is Zelda, go to the Tower of the Gods to fight Ganon, you know, a little pew pew action. And the King of Hyrule, being like the worst, makes a wish to wash Hyrule away. So that's really neat. And then there's the era of Hyrule's rebirth. So that's cool. And there's the Great Voyage, which I feel like you can piece together what that is. But then there's Phantom Hourglass, where basically Link just like ditches his like whole knight thing and becomes a pirate, and I really love that for him. You were a good pirate, but like they basically, while searching for new land, Zelda, but she's still called Tetra in this game, is kidnapped by Billiam. So Link, the hero of winds, along with Captain Linebeck, they used the Phantom Hourglass to find the ghost ship. So that's cool. So basically they save Zelda and defeat Bellum with the Phantom Sword. So that's neat. And then conveniently a new continent is discovered, so that's also really cool. Don't you love it when you just find a new continent randomly? Because me too. And of course, a new Hyrule is established, because you can't just not have Hyrule in Zelda games. And then there's a tragedy of Princess Zelda Uno. Not Skyward Sword Zelda, but Legend of Zelda 1. The first game, that's the tragedy there. Where she gets put under a curse, and now she's sleeping for a long time. This sounds a lot like Sleeping Beauty. And then there's Spirit Tracks, which is a canon game, and I didn't know that until writing this. But Spirit Tracks is basically where Link, he like gets really into trains for a little bit, and honestly, I support him living his best life, because that boy needs a break. But oh no, not for our boy, because Spirit Tracks is not as nice as it looks. So Chancellor Cole, right, in Spirit Tracks, decides that he's going to revive the Demon King Ganon. Because of course he is. No, he's not reviving the Demon King Ganon, he's reviving the Demon King Maldus. Because apparently there's another Demon King, and he wants to use Zelda's body for it. So that's a little bit of a predicament. Zelda kinda needs that to live. But somehow her spirit and Link, like, join forces? And defeat Cole. But not only do they defeat Cole, they defeat Maldus using the Locomo sword. And the Locomo Guardians return to the heavens and whatnot. And I'm just kind of like processing the fact that Zelda's spirit was kind of just like, yo, homeboy, I'm fighting in the battle. And Link was like, okay. I guess that's why it's called Spirit Tracks, but I'm still just like, what? So basically, once that happens, Old Hyrule is rediscovered, and Ganon is once again revived. Yay. And then there's the Hyrule Fantasy / the original Zelda game, which honestly, the fact that they didn't keep the name the Hyrule Fantasy is so boring and lame. I understand. I mean, Legend of Zelda is so much more iconic, but like, that's a good name. And you scrapped it, Nintendo. And then you never used it again. Like, okay. So basically, during an expedition into the old ruins of Hyrule, Ganon attacks and, you know, yoinks the Triforce of Power, so that's cool. But Zelda, you know, being the queen she is, no pun intended, breaks the Triforce of Wisdom and hides the pieces, like, across the land. But in, like, instead of, like, the land of New Hyrule, she hides them in, like, the ruins of Old Hyrule, so they really can't be found. But, you know, she's like, maybe that wasn't smart. And she's like, Impa, go find Link. Tell him that he needs to re-find all the pieces that I just hid. Because I don't want to go do it myself. Like, Zelda, look. But then she gets captured. So, L, that's what you get. So, 6 years after Ganon gets defeated, right? Impa's like, oh, by the way, Zelda, was kind of cursed. This is referring to Zelda 1 that I mentioned earlier. He's like, so she's sleeping and she can't wake up, and Link's like, well, what am I supposed to do? And Impa's like, well, the Triforce can awaken her, and so Link has to go back and then waken the princess. But the thing is that she can only be awakened by the complete Triforce because, of course, the Triforce of Courage is hidden away in the Great Palace. So Link travels to the palace, and, you know, he's careful not to, like, trip in any of the traps and stuff, because there are traps set by Ganon's followers, because apparently Ganon has followers, and the weird thing about this is that, like, they seek Link's blood to revive Ganon, so that's... Nintendo, this is a children's game? What? But basically, obviously, because plot armor, that doesn't happen, and Link reassembles the full Triforce and awakens Zelda. So that's neat. And that is the end of the adult era timeline thing. On to the child timeline. So this timeline was created by Zelda to send the hero of time back to his childhood at the very moment he pulled the Master Sword. And the events of Ocarina of Time are undone. So none of Ocarina of Time is like even a thing in this timeline, so that's neat. But Majora's Mask happens, and I love Majora's Mask, and it's the first Zelda game I ever played, and the moon, that was my childhood nightmare. That was the thing, that was it. I don't even want to think about it. I hate the moon. The moon is the worst thing to ever happen. Just so you know. The hero of time leaves Hyrule. He's like, peace, I'm out. To protect the Ocarina of Time, in search for Navi, which is the little blue fairies that you see a lot in, like, Zelda art and stuff. But along the way, he's robbed by Skull Kid, which Skull Kid deserves better, and I'm not taking Skull Kid slander in the comments. But he's sent to Termina, which is the town that Majora's Mask takes place in. But he retakes the Ocarina of Time and uses it to awaken the 4 giants, Majora, and to stop the moon from falling on Clock Town. Because a moon, especially that moon, falling on Clock Town, not good. No bueno. Not a good mix, you know? I don't think I would want the moon to fall on my town. And I don't think Clock Town wanted the moon to fall on their town. So, and that boy had like 3 days. He did all that in 3 days. Good job, Link. I know it's not you, but good job, future you, child you, a Link of some form. But then there's the Hylia and Gerudo War, which Gerudos are the race that Ganon is, or was, I guess. And the Hylians are what Link is. I feel like you've pieced it together by now, and they fought, and that's what a war is. The history lessons with Crypt. But then there's the hero of Twilight. The hero? No, the era. And the era of Twilight. Not the hero, don't get them mixed up. But Ganondorf is yoinked all the way to the Twilight realm, get wrecked, and the hero of time, I'm pretty sure, dies and becomes Shade, which there's been conflicting reports online if he's the hero of Shade or just Shade, but I know that he's there, and I'm pretty sure that he's the dead hero of time, which is also really dark, Nintendo. What the heck? But then Twilight Princess happens. And aided by Ganon, the Twilight Princess Prince, no, the Twilight Realm Prince Zant is all like, yo, hey, what's up, homies? I'm actually wanting to take over the entire world. And he basically overthrows Princess Zelda and Midna, which is the princess of Twilight, hence the name Twilight Princess. And Link, after getting turned into a wolf, which is the whole other thing, teams up with Midna and finds the Fused Shadow, which is a weapon that was concealed by the Interlopers, which, if you remember way back in the beginning of the video, I mentioned the Interlopers, and that's where they come in at. Yeah. There's a creepy cutscene, and it gave me nightmares. And it still gives me nightmares. But Twilight Princess is probably one of my favorite Zelda games, so we're moving on, because I honestly am so confused by the Interlopers, and I would like to do a video on them, by themselves, once I understand the Interlopers, because I barely understand them as is. Basically, after they get the shadow fuse thing from the Interlopers, or like that they found from the Interlopers, he pulls the Master Sword, and then gets helped by Shade, hero of Shade, whatever you want to call him, to save Zelda. He defeats Sant and then has to face Ganondorf. And then Ganondorf's essence is split into 4. That is not a 4, and then sealed away. And then there's the Era of Shadow. Yo. And then we have Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventure, which is basically just 4 swords but rebranded. Which I think I said that about another one. So basically Ganon is reincarnated and sends Shadow Link, which is the like Dark Link that you see everywhere, to capture the 6 maidens and Zelda, because of course, to trick Link into pulling the 4 sword and release Vaati. So Link, you know, because it's the 4 sword, is split into 4 yet again. And the 4 Links go on a quest to save the maidens and Zelda and all that, and defeat Vaati, because obviously they can't just let him running around. So Shadow Link and Ganondorf are transformed into Ganon, like as one, I guess, by the powers of the Dark Trident, which, that's cool, I guess. Adventures of 4 Swords really confuses me. 4 Swords Adventures, sorry. Okay, so this is where it gets wild, right? So here is where all the timelines come together, and there's only one timeline. And I don't know what to call this timeline. I'm just gonna call this the really nice, convenient timeline. I like this timeline. So this is where Hyrule Warriors happens. And the sorceress Sia, no, not the singer, we don't stan her. Sia unifies the timeline, right, and revives the original Ganondorf, because if you were gonna revive or unify 3 different timelines, some stuff is gonna happen that you don't really want to happen, but you know what, that's the price we pay for convenience. But also, while reviving Ganondorf though, she revives the original Link, Zelda, and Lana. But Sia is not as cool as I just made her out to be, because she also revives some of the other heroes from other games, and then they all have to come together to defeat Sia and Ganon and reclaim the Triforce. And Ganon's body is sealed under Hyrule Castle to prevent him from reincarnating. That's technically not confirmed. That's just my own personal theory. At least I don't think it's confirmed. It might be, I don't really know. I kind of just Googled it and someone said, sure, and I said, okay, I'm running with it. So that's the timeline unified. And then there's the Reunified Era, which is what just happened. But then Sheikah Tech rises. The first calamity 10,000 years before Breath of the Wild happens. Now the Sheikah tribe divided and their tech is like buried and stuff. But then there's Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which I know isn't canon, but is literally the only game in the entire Zelda timeline that makes this part of the timeline make sense. Because it explains like the story before it, and I'm pretty sure Nintendo said that it's not canon. I'm deciding that it is canon because in that game it explains the events that took place 10,000 years ago, and there are parts in that game, and I actually have not played this game myself, but I've seen enough analysis on it that you have to take my word for it, because I literally have nothing in my brain to explain why this makes the timeline make sense, but I promise you it does. And then there's Breath of the Wild, which is my pride and joy. I love this game. So after taking a little snooze in the Shrine of Resurrection, right, Link's like, hi-ya, right, wakes up, doesn't have any clothes on, goes out, defeats some shrines, defeats the Calamity Ganon after doing some stuff with some divine beasts, and that's Breath of the Wild. And then we have Breath of the Wild 2, but that's not out yet, and I haven't obviously played it, because it's not out yet, so we don't know anything about that, but I'm assuming that it is the sequel to Breath of the Wild 2, and that they're not gonna pull a whole Legend of Zelda 2 thing, where they're in 2 different places. So that was my comprehensive Legend of Zelda timeline. You're welcome. I thought it was pretty good. My voice hurts, and I have to edit this tonight and get it out tomorrow. So that was my timeline.